you say he or she to me, like when I'm out in public, like my teammates sometimes will get mad if somebody call me a he, but I'm just like, I don't care. Like, you know, we go sit down and get some food and they're like, sir, what do you want? I'm like, yeah, let me get the steak, medium well, thank you. I'm in TSA and I'm going through TSA and, you know, the guy pats me down so I could go through. I'm cool. I didn't have people come running like, no, it's a girl, stop. And I'm like, hey, you're making it awkward. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to get through. Whoever could pat me down the fastest, I don't care.
Charlie Kirk is gone, and the reaction is nothing short of explosive. Normally, when a public figure leaves this world, even their harshest critics pause to show some respect. But this time, the response is completely divided, and the internet is on fire with emotions running in opposite directions. Some people are sending love and prayers, while others are literally celebrating like it's a game, turning his absence into a trending spectacle. And right in the eye of this storm, Brittney Griner. Instead of stepping back quietly, she's doubling down, making it crystal clear that she feels no sadness, and she's not sugarcoating her thoughts for anyone. She's not softening her tone, and she's not playing the sympathy card either. That bold reaction is shaking up fans, shocking fellow athletes, and leaving commentators speechless. Some are calling it cold and unnecessary, while others praise her for standing firm and speaking her truth with zero hesitation. Social media has become the battleground. Clips, reactions, and heated debates are everywhere. Some say Griner crossed a line. Others believe she simply said what many were already thinking but were too afraid to admit out loud. And the craziest part? Political voices, sports insiders, and celebrity influencers are all weighing in, turning this moment into one of the biggest cultural showdowns we've seen this year. Charlie Kirk was never a quiet figure, and even now, his name is pulling the spotlight into one of the loudest clashes between sports, culture, and public opinion. Charlie Kirk built his name by thriving on confrontation, and he never shied away from swinging hard at hot-button issues. He went after the LGBTQ+ community with sharp words, turning debates into fiery battles his supporters treated like sport. To them, he was fearless, a defender of their values who spoke truths others were too scared to say. But to his critics, he was seen as a loud bully who picked fights with anyone who didn't match his version of what America should look like. And right in his line of fire was Brittney Griner. For years, he ridiculed athletes like her, mocked the WNBA, and painted inclusivity as some kind of threat to tradition. That's why his absence isn't just another headline. It's become a lightning rod for division. On one side, his fans are honoring him as a strong leader who never backed down. But on the other side, people like Griner see it as the silencing of a critic who never gave them respect in the first place. So why would Brittney Griner mourn him? From her point of view, this moment feels less like a loss and more like a wave of relief. And that emotional split is exactly what's tearing the internet apart right now. Her reaction isn't just personal, it symbolizes the larger cultural clash between the world Kirk fought to represent and the future Griner embodies. Brittney has always stood for what he pushed against, an openly lesbian WNBA star. Proud of her identity, her platform, and her role as a voice for change. To supporters, she's a trailblazer. To critics, she's everything Kirk warned against. And now, in this moment, those worlds are colliding louder than ever before. Charlie Kirk built his entire brand on tearing down people like Brittney Griner. He dismissed her league as irrelevant, laughed at her accomplishments, and painted her lifestyle as some kind of cultural threat. For years, his words followed her, echoing across broadcasts, podcasts, and rallies. And now that he's gone, Brittney isn't pretending to feel sympathy. She's glad. To her, it feels like one of her loudest hecklers has finally been escorted out of the arena, and she's not hiding that relief one bit. And here's the kicker. She doesn't care if people call her reaction cold or heartless. In fact, her very presence, her success, and her voice feel like they mock his legacy without her even trying. She doesn't need to cry, she doesn't need to show forgiveness, and she definitely doesn't need to fake sorrow for someone who never gave her a shred of respect. For Brittney, this moment isn't about grace. It's about finally seeing the endless criticism and insults aimed at her fade into silence. That satisfaction, whether spoken loud or kept unspoken, hits Kirk's supporters like a punch in the gut. They expected unity, quiet, and mourning. But instead, they're staring down defiance, boldness, and unapologetic honesty from the very person he tried hardest to tear down. This clash isn't just about two people, it's about everything they represented, and the deeper the divide grows, the more this story turns into a cultural showdown playing out for the entire world to see. The divide in reactions has been nothing short of explosive. Kirk's supporters are furious, demanding that everyone put differences aside and show respect now that he's no longer here. To them, respect after a passing is automatic, a rule that shouldn't be broken. But critics are pushing back hard, saying respect isn't some free gift handed out at the end. It has to be earned during your time here, and if it wasn't, then no one should be pressured to fake it. And Brittney Griner? Her unapologetic reaction has made her the face of that defiance. She's standing firm, making it clear she owes nothing to someone who dismissed her existence. But that's also why the backlash against her has gotten even louder. Fans who already disliked her are mocking her all over again, pulling up awkward old interviews, roasting her inconsistent games, and accusing her of always making herself the center of attention. The criticism is sharp, but here's the twist. Even her critics admit one thing: her blunt reaction has completely flipped the conversation. Instead of everyone quietly focusing on Kirk's legacy, the spotlight is now locked on Brittney. She's taken the narrative and forced people to wrestle with an uncomfortable truth. Do you really owe respect to someone who never respected you? That's the question flooding comment sections, sports talk shows, and headlines across the internet. For Brittney, the answer is crystal clear: absolutely not. Her gladness isn't just a personal feeling, it's fueling the fire of debate everywhere. And in a way, it fits perfectly with the sport she represents. Basketball has always been about earning respect the hard way. Drop 40 in the playoffs, hit the clutch shot under pressure, carry your team through the storm. That's when people give you respect. Not just because someone demands it, and definitely not because tradition says you must. Respect isn't automatic, not on the court and not in real life either. Athletes know that better than anyone. And for Brittney Griner, that same rule applies here. Charlie Kirk never earned her respect. He mocked her lifestyle, dismissed her league, and even turned her very name into a running punchline. So when news broke, Brittney's response mirrored the treatment she'd endured for years. She wasn't sad, she wasn't polite, she was glad. For her, this wasn't about tradition or fake formality. It was about holding him to the exact same standard he held her to. If he refused to respect her life, then why should she feel pressured to respect his memory? That logic infuriates his fans, but in the language of sports, it makes perfect sense. You get out what you put in. And the energy Kirk put out for years was bitterness, mockery, and hostility. Now that's the same energy being thrown right back at him. Brittney isn't being subtle. She doesn't need to be. Her reaction is as blunt as a fastball to the chest. She's not hiding behind carefully chosen words. She's not sugarcoating. And she's definitely not pretending to feel something she doesn't. Instead, she's mocking him even in absence, just like he mocked her in life. And here's the sharpest irony of all. The man who once laughed at her identity, her league, and her career is now being laughed at by her. The roles have flipped, the tables have turned, and Brittney is openly enjoying it. Her boldness has sparked a firestorm, and whether people love it or hate it, one thing is clear: she's not backing down. Some fans say Brittney Griner looks cold, even heartless. Others say she looks fearless and brutally honest. But no matter how you spin it, one thing is crystal clear: she's controlling the narrative. She's refusing to be boxed into tradition, refusing to honor someone she never respected. And instead, she's flipping the entire script. Suddenly, the power dynamic is reversed. She's the one in control, standing tall while the world debates her every word. Sure, the mockery may not win her new fans, but the volume of her stance is impossible to ignore. And the louder she gets, the more it grates on Kirk's supporters, who can't stand seeing her claim this moment with confidence. To them, it feels like an insult on top of loss. But for her critics on the other side, it feels like justice served raw, no filter, no apologies. Kirk's absence didn't just stir emotions, it reignited the culture war in full force. Conservatives rushed to frame him as a martyr, saying his legacy should be treated as a sacred loss for their movement. Progressives, meanwhile, saw his departure as the closing chapter of a voice that constantly mocked and belittled them. And right at the center of this clash is Brittney Griner, whether she asked for it or not. Her unapologetic reaction became the symbol of why this moment matters. Her gladness isn't just personal. It reflects the frustration of millions who felt targeted, belittled, or erased by Kirk's words. She's embodying that raw energy out loud, turning her personal response into a cultural statement that cuts deeper than any debate could. Brittney Griner now stands as a full-on symbol of defiance. She's refusing to bow to the pressure, refusing to give the respect his supporters demand, and the more they push back, the stronger her reaction feels, almost like a final victory over someone who spent years mocking her existence. For her, this isn't just about basketball, and it's not just about politics either. This clash has exploded into something much bigger. It's about what respect really means, and more importantly, who actually deserves it. Here's the raw truth. Brittney's glad reaction has made her absolutely impossible to ignore. Even people who never cared about women's basketball, who rolled their eyes at the WNBA, are suddenly talking about her. And that fact alone is driving Kirk's fans out of their minds. They wanted this moment to highlight his legacy, to frame him as the centerpiece of conversation. Instead, Brittney's unapologetic stance, her open mockery, is what's dominating the headlines, the debates, and every trending thread across social media. Her critics may hate it, but her voice is louder than ever. Every interview clip, every post, every comment is now part of a bigger culture clash that has spilled out of sports and straight into the national spotlight. And whether you agree with her or despise her, there's no denying it. Brittney Griner has flipped the narrative upside down, leaving Kirk's supporters watching helplessly as her defiance becomes the story everyone's talking about. Brittney Griner has turned this entire moment into her platform, flipping the power dynamic in a way that no one expected. For years, Charlie Kirk got to laugh at her, mock her, and treat her identity as a joke. Now, she's the one laughing last, and that reversal is exactly what's driving his supporters into pure outrage. They can't stand that she's seizing this spotlight and making it about herself. But in a strange twist, isn't that the very thing Kirk always did? He thrived on making every issue about him and his battles. Now, Brittney is playing the same game, only this time, she's the one holding the winning hand. The backlash has been deafening. Kirk's supporters are calling her heartless, cruel, and disrespectful. They say she's crossed an invisible line by openly showing relief instead of sorrow. But Griner isn't flinching. She isn't apologizing. She's doubling down, standing firm in her gladness and daring anyone to challenge her truth. In her eyes, it's not about crossing a line. It's about finally being real. Kirk disrespected her while he was alive, and she's not about to rewrite history with fake sympathy now. To her, this is about keeping score, and in her mind, that score is finally settled. And while that defiance infuriates his base, it's also cracking open their arguments. How can they demand respect from someone who never received any in return? That uncomfortable reality is what makes this moment so powerful. Brittney isn't just speaking for herself, she's speaking for everyone who felt pushed down by Kirk's words. And right now, she's standing taller than ever. They're demanding respect from someone who never received it from him in the first place. And Brittney Griner's refusal to play along is one of the boldest rejections of that expectation we've ever seen. Her reaction hasn't just ignited debate about Charlie Kirk, it's pulled the entire WNBA straight back into the headlines, and not for basketball glory, but for controversy that has the internet buzzing nonstop. Let's be real. The WNBA already fights tooth and nail for respect. The league constantly battles against the narrative that it's irrelevant compared to the NBA. And now, its most recognizable star isn't trending for dropping buckets or dominating on the court. She's being talked about for openly mocking a political figure. And that's the kind of twist critics can't stop pouncing on. Supporters of Kirk are pointing fingers saying, "See, this is exactly why nobody takes the league seriously." They argue her behavior proves their point, that instead of showing professionalism, the WNBA's most visible player is flaunting defiance and making herself the story. And in a way, those critics feel like they've got fresh ammo. Because instead of letting the moment pass quietly, Griner is leaning into it, almost proud to rub it in. She's glad, she's bold, and she's flaunting it like she just hit the ultimate game winner in front of a packed arena. But here's the sting. In reality, this isn't a championship. This isn't a trophy moment. It's a messy battle of narratives. And to her critics, that's the real mockery of it all. Brittney Griner is acting like she's some cultural champion. But let's be honest, half the time she can't even carry her team into the spotlight. Her interviews are awkward, her words stumble, and yet she wants the world to believe her reaction defines an entire movement. But here's the harsh reality. It doesn't. To many, it just makes her look petty and self-serving. And for the WNBA, which has been fighting for decades to be seen as a league of role models and trailblazers, this moment stings even harder. Instead of representing unity and strength, its biggest star has turned a political figure's passing into what looks like her personal victory lap. For fans who were already skeptical about the WNBA, this feels like confirmation of every criticism they've ever thrown at it. Instead of lifting the league, Griner's reaction has dragged it deeper into ridicule, the exact opposite of what the league has been desperately working toward. And the wildest part? She doesn't care one bit. She's standing firm, smiling through the chaos, and making it clear that she isn't about to change her stance for anyone. So where does this leave us? Charlie Kirk is gone, and Brittney Griner is openly glad about it. She's not pretending, she's not softening her tone, and she's definitely not mourning. She's mocking him, and that very mockery has become the loudest symbol of this entire cultural divide. To some, it proves she's cruel. To others, it proves she's fearless. But one thing is undeniable. She's made herself impossible to ignore. If this breakdown left you shocked, hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more updates. And don't forget to share this video. Because trust me, this story is far from finished. See you on the next one.